After Hours, a short form of Why Didn't You Test That podcast here at Custody Software. I'm Rich Jordan, Solutions Enterprise Architect. We take a water cooler conversation, what we get involved a lot in. You've just started talking on the intro.
Yeah, I know. Look, this is prime mini pod stuff. Welcome to our After Hours podcast, joined by the illustrious James Walker. You've probably seen him all over LinkedIn at the moment. James, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Ben.
And Mr. Paul Wright. Paul, welcome back to your second time on the pod.
That is, yeah. Thanks.
James, for those not familiar, I don't know if you want to give yourself a brief intro.
So, I used to be part of the original Grid Tools team with my business partner, Hugh Price, and a lot of the team at Curiosity. I've probably spent the past 10 to 12 years working on kind of model-based testing and different deviations from it. But I think more recently, it's kind of taking more of a holistic approach and looking at quality. So focusing more around quality engineering, and that's kind of my background.
Sounds good. Unfortunately, mate, that number keeps getting larger in terms of how many years you've been in the space. It'll only go up.
It's scary, isn't it? How long are you in it now, Ben?
I don't think I want to answer. I mean, I got into IT straight out of college. Didn't go to uni. So it's nearly 20 years, I suppose. But that is different stuff. Fixing laptops to start with, and then frontline support, getting told off for system breaking, the rest of it, and then into the world of testing and DevOps and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, Paul, your journey was a little bit different, actually. You were education first?
It was technical communications, the subject that I studied at uni, which is basically Rolls-Royce wanted to train up people that could deliver what the engineers were developing, and then just turn that into your typical leaflet or document. But I didn't think it was sexy at all. I don't know if that's the right word. So I turned in and switched to graphic design. And these days, it would be total reverse, wouldn't it? Because you've got the Internet of Things, which is now, never hear that term, IoT. But the amount of technical documentation out there, it's so varied, and it's an interesting space to work in. But at the time, I think 25 years ago, I was like, nah, I don't want to work for Hewlett Packard, just talking about blue screens. Yeah. So yeah, switch to graphic design. That brings me here.
Yeah, content creator, you would have been laughed at if you said that was your job.
Yeah.
But now it's it's becoming the norm in every B2B company, right? It's such a huge activity.
You could have been like the next YouTube superstar, Paul.
I am in some worlds, but not this one. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Good. So, James, we've got a couple of topics for this pod. Let's start off with. Let's just touch a little bit on your blog. So you wrote a blog, very well received. I don't know if you want to just give the 50,000 foot view of it.
Yeah, in my conversations with organizations, we've kind of come to the conclusion that the way we talk about the software development lifecycle, it's not fundamentally wrong, but it's kind of created this misconception. Like if you look at the DevOps 8 or you look at the standard SDLC circular diagram, everything's very linear. And it's all very do this step, then move to the next step, then move to the next step. And the reality is the way we create software is fundamentally not like that at all. And also the amount of investment and the amount of effort we put into different areas of the SDLC is completely different as well, right?
Cool. Yeah.
So we've kind of come up with this new term, which we're calling the inner and outer loop. And the inner loop is everything to do with development. So it's all about kind of creating code and all of the coding activities that take place, right? Everything else around that is called the outer loop. And that's kind of all about everything supporting that journey around the developer, right? So it's things like creating requirements, creating test cases, deploying code once it's been integrated. What we've seen in a lot of organizations is they're very developer focused, especially on the coding piece. And if you look at where all the budget goes, it goes into that perspective, right? So there's, there's different IDEs that organizations have to code in. There's different libraries that organizations are buying and different library engines where you can quickly pull in other assets. There's all these AIs being produced now for coding as well. So we're seeing an awful lot of attention on the inner loop. But the reality is, if you look at the outer loop, that it's received a lot less focus. by organizations, but also by innovation, by investment in the industry. And what we're seeing now is there's a lot of these kind of symptoms that organizations are facing, like testing is a bottleneck. We can't hire good enough talent. Our team is always firefighting. And actually, a lot of organizations jump straight into those symptoms. It's how can we address them front on? So it might be, let's hire more people. Let's introduce automation. It's kind of fast painkiller type solutions. But the reality for us is what we've actually found as we've gone through kind of, dissecting the SDLC and talking to industry experts, is that actually most of those problems, once you go back to the root cause, it's to do with some kind of inefficiency in the outer loop. We don't have good enough requirements. So, our testing team is having to go around and kind of fill in the gaps and fill in the voids. And it's creating a big bottleneck as part of it. Or, our testing is delayed because we left it till fundamentally too late in the life cycle, right? So the whole blog was around thinking about the SDLC and a lot of the symptoms organizations are facing, but then peeling it back into what is the root cause of that, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, it does. It really resonates with me as well. Like it's things that I think talking about it is this sort of whatever, dev, build, code sort of situation against post-that security compliance as part of the outer loop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sort of makes sense to most people. As, we definitely have this. And I think, I don't know, on one of the podcasts recently, people were talking about a little bit of pain, painkillers and symptoms. And, actually, we've signed up, whether sensible or not, for this half marathon. I've had absolute IT band issues throughout this whole thing. But
Getting your excuses in early.
Oh, yeah, big time. But my IT band isn't the problem. It's the fact that I've got my hips are like misaligned. So
right.
I shouldn't be trying to treat the fact that I'm really absolutely slow at picking up compliance issues. It's much earlier than my requirements are, just sort of causing problems later on. Right. So I think that does resonate with people, though it's sometimes hard to work out what it looks like in your industry or inside your business or whatever it might be as to how they actually go and manifest.
100%. And I think it's funny because that analogy really works quite well, because most people are familiar that they're having these pain points. It's just they're solving them in the wrong way, right? So automation has this really bad, rap in the community now, right? Because it's like everyone's been sold this silver bullet, quote unquote, and, we've kind of bought the wrong solution. We've been sold this dream that's wrong. Actually, automation is extremely useful, right? It's extremely useful for getting fast feedback, and that's it. The reason it's received such a bad rap is because a lot of organizations have gone, hey, my testing is a bottleneck, it's too slow. We need to introduce automation to speed it up. And actually what ends up happening is you end up making a bad process fast, right? That's fundamentally what happens in a lot of organizations, and it creates this whole negative kind of stigma associated with it. Whereas let's peel it back. What is the root cause of that? And to your point, let's do a bit more earlier to set ourselves up for success. Let's take a few more vitamins. Let's do a few more stretches and let's set ourselves up for success where we're going to win and be successful from it. But there's so many organizations who they're either out looking for this painkiller, they're not prepared to put the hard work in to get there. And fundamentally, at some point it ends up collapsing in on itself, right? And that's where the problems occur.
I've got some vitamins on my desk, actually. I won't give a shameless
good.
like that. But, look after your health. So finally, last sort of piece, I did mention we have signed up for this half marathon. Does this mean on record that it goes from half marathon to marathon? Is this the beginning of a journey, James?
I'll tell you what, if we get
is this? Have you done one before? Is this the furthest you'll have travelled on legs?
So during COVID, I took up running, and there was no official races. I think I ran 29 kilometers. Which okay. I think that's over a half marathon, right?
Yeah,
I think that's like 14, 15 miles. Yeah. So I have done further than that before, but that was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm in a lot different shape than I was back then. So I don't know. It's been a hard journey, right? Getting to this point. I don't know if I have it in me to do the marathon or not.
Come on.
I like the idea of it. I think if we get 4 or 5 people signed up from curiosity, I'll commit.
You do it. That feels like
100%
to me. I don't know,
yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably in that group as well, Ben. So
Yeah, yes, unfortunately true. I'm trying to convince Paul. Paul is unable to make this next one, but
Paul,
next time.
Oh yeah, a full marathon is a totally different beast, isn't it? Though to the semi.
oh
Yeah.
god, yeah,
Yes, got to challenge
There's the
yourself.
wall.
Got to push
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Are you signing up for the full marathon then, Paul? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think I'm
he
gonna
is.
just lay back on making a decision on that for the moment. Yeah.
Trying to I'm getting people to commit on video. It's dangerous.
Paul's got another life in politics there with that answer. It's
Oh yeah.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, nice.
Hey mate, July 4th. There you go. We'll all vote for you. It's fine. James, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Follow the Curiosity page. Post tons. Follow James. James posts lots of great content and articles. So always good for your education in terms of what's going on in the industry stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you, James. Thank you, Paul. And we'll see you guys
Thanks for
again.
listening to this episode of the Why Didn't You Test That podcast. To continue the conversation, head over to curiositysoftware.ie. And don't forget to subscribe for more episodes.